The morning sun painted the sky purple above New Eden. Sarah Chen Okafor stood on her office balcony, watching children play in the crystal-clear river below. Their laughter carried on the warm breeze as they splashed in the shallow water. This was paradise, she thought. 3 generations of humans had turned this empty planet into a home. Sarah's daughter Zara ran past with her friends, all of them heading to the swimming hole downstream. At 16, Zara had never seen Earth. New Eden was her world, her home, her everything. Sarah smiled and waved. Zara waved back before disappearing around the bend with the other children. "Another beautiful day in paradise," said Marcus Webb, walking onto the balcony. The head of Colonial Defense looked tired. His uniform was wrinkled like he had slept at his desk again. "You look worried, Marcus," Sarah said. "What's wrong?" Marcus pulled out a data tablet and showed her the readings. Long-range sensors picked up something strange at the edge of the system. Gravitational waves that don't match any known natural phenomenon. Sarah looked at the data. The numbers meant nothing to her, but Marcus was the expert. Could it be a ship? Maybe, or maybe several ships. Big ones. Marcus rubbed his eyes. "I've put the defense grid on alert. All patrol ships are moving to intercept positions." "Should I be worried?" Sarah asked. "I don't know. This could be first contact with an alien species. We've been preparing for this day since we first arrived here." Marcus looked out at the peaceful valley. "I just hope they're friendly," Sarah nodded. As Colonial Administrator, she had studied first contact protocols for years. The plan was simple: communicate peacefully, share basic information, and invite them to meet with Earth's diplomats. Every simulation ended with successful contact and new allies. "I'll prepare the welcome package," Sarah said. "Mathematical sequences, music, basic language primers. Everything we planned for first contact." Marcus looked uncomfortable. "Sarah, I want you to prepare the evacuation protocols too. Just in case." "You really think that's necessary?" "I hope not. But those gravitational readings, whatever's coming is massive, bigger than anything we've ever built." Down in the valley, the children's voices echoed off the canyon walls. New Eden had 2.3 million people spread across 3 continents. They grew food for dozens of other human colonies. Their farms fed millions of people across space. Their cities blended perfectly with the natural environment. Everything was designed to work with nature, not against it. Dr. Kim Santos, the colony's chief scientist, joined them on the balcony. She looked excited and nervous at the same time. "The readings are getting stronger. Whatever's coming, it's huge, and it's moving fast." "How long until it arrives?" Sarah asked. "Maybe 6 hours. The gravitational distortion is unlike anything in our databases." Kim paused. "Sarah, this could change everything. We might be about to meet our first alien neighbors." Sarah felt excited and scared. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they might have their answer. "I'll contact Earth immediately. They need to know about this." "Already done," Marcus said. "But it will take 3 months for any message to reach Earth and 3 months for a response. We're on our own until then." The 3 of them stood quietly, watching the peaceful valley. Children played by the river. Farmers worked in the vertical gardens that stretched up the canyon walls. Everything looked normal, but Sarah felt like the world was about to change forever. "Look," Kim pointed to the sky. High above, small dots appeared near the edge of the atmosphere. The dots grew larger as they watched. Sarah counted at least 20 shapes moving in perfect formation. "Those are ships," Marcus said quietly. He touched his communicator. "All defense units, this is Webb. Unknown vessels entering our atmosphere. Maintain defensive positions but do not fire unless fired upon." The ships were beautiful in a strange way. They looked like living coral that had grown in the deep ocean. Their surfaces shimmered with rainbow colors that shifted and moved. They made no sound as they descended through the atmosphere. Sarah activated the communication system. "Unknown vessels, this is Colonial Administrator Sarah Chen Okafor of New Eden Colony. Welcome to our system. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly relations." The ships continued their descent without responding. "Try again," Marcus said. "Unknown vessels, we are broadcasting on all frequencies. We have mathematical sequences and cultural information to share. Please respond." Still nothing. More ships appeared in the sky. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. The beautiful coral-like vessels filled the sky like a swarm of colorful insects. "That's a lot of ships," Kim whispered. Marcus was already moving. "Sarah, I want you to activate the emergency broadcast system. Send everything to Earth, all our sensor data, recordings of these ships, everything. You think something's wrong? I think we need to be prepared for anything. The ship stopped descending and hung in the sky above the major cities. From the balcony, Sarah could see at least 50 ships floating over their valley alone. They were massive, each one bigger than the colony's main administrative complex. Sarah's communicator beeped. Messages were coming in from every settlement on the planet. The ships were everywhere, positioned over every human city and town. They're scanning us, Kim said, looking at her instruments. High-energy beams sweeping across the surface. Scanning for what? Sarah asked. I don't know, but they're being very thorough. Sarah tried the communication system again. Unknown vessels, we welcome you to our world. We offer friendship and cultural exchange. Our planet is called New Eden, and we are human beings from Earth. Please respond. The ships remained silent. Marcus returned with a grim expression. All defense platforms report the same thing. Hundreds of ships in orbit. Thousands more at the edge of the system. They're surrounding us completely. Sarah felt cold despite the warm morning sun. This doesn't feel like a friendly visit anymore. No, it doesn't. Down in the valley, people had started pointing at the sky. The children had stopped playing and were staring up at the strange ships. Parents began calling their children home. Sarah made a decision. Kim, I want you to record everything. Every reading, every scan, every detail about these ships. If this goes badly, Earth needs to know what happened here. Already on it, Kim said. Marcus checked his weapon. I'm going to the command center. If these visitors have hostile intentions, we need to be ready. Marcus, Sarah called as he headed for the door. How good are our defenses against something like this? Marcus looked at the ships filling the sky. Not good, Sarah, not good at all. After he left, Sarah stood alone on the balcony with Kim. The beautiful morning had turned ominous. The purple sky, once so lovely, now seemed alien and threatening. Sarah, Kim said quietly, I'm getting some very strange readings from those ships. What kind of readings? They're not using any technology I recognize. The energy signatures are completely alien. And Sarah, I don't think they're mechanical. What do you mean? I think those ships are alive. Sarah looked up at the coral-like vessels hovering silently above them. They did look organic, like something that had grown rather than been built. Her communicator chimed. A message from Zara. Mom, scary ships in the sky. Coming home now. Sarah smiled despite her fear. Whatever happened next, at least her daughter would be safe at home. She was wrong about that, very wrong. The attack began without warning. Sarah was in her office when the first orbital platform disappeared. One moment it was there on her screen. The next moment it was gone. Not destroyed, simply gone as if it had never existed. Sarah, Marcus's voice crackled through the communicator. Get to the emergency shelter now. Outside her window, the alien ships were changing. The coral-like surfaces began to glow with harsh white light. Strange growths emerged from their hulls, pointing downward toward the colony. Sarah grabbed her emergency kit and ran for the door. Kim, we need to evacuate. Dr. Santos was already packing critical data storage devices. The orbital defense grid is gone, all of it. They wiped out everything in space in less than 30 seconds. Another flash of light filled the sky. Sarah looked up and saw the colony's communications array dissolving. Not exploding, dissolving. The metal tower simply fell apart into gray dust that scattered in the wind. What kind of weapon does that? Sarah gasped. I don't know, but we need to warn Earth. They ran toward the emergency shelter built into the mountainside. Other colonists were running too. Parents carrying children, elderly people helping each other move as fast as they could. Marcus appeared beside them, breathing hard. The aliens are targeting our infrastructure first. Power plants, communication towers, transportation hubs. They're being systematic about it. Are they trying to disable us without killing anyone? Sarah asked hopefully. Marcus's expression was grim. I don't think so. Look, he pointed to the residential district. One of the alien ships was hovering directly over the housing complex where Zara lived. The strange growths on its hull were glowing brighter. A beam of sickly green light shot down from the ship. Sarah screamed. The beam touched the apartment building where her daughter lived. The structure didn't explode or burn. Instead, it began to melt. The walls, the roof, everything turned into gray liquid that flowed away like water. But worse than the building was what happened to the people. Sarah watched in horror as her neighbors ran from the collapsing structure. The green light touched them and they began to dissolve. Their bodies turned to the same gray liquid as the building. In seconds, there was nothing left but puddles of gray sludge. Zara! Sarah screamed and ran toward the residential area. Marcus grabbed her arm. Sarah, no! You can't help them. My daughter is in there. If she's in there, she's already gone. I'm sorry, but we need to get to shelter now. More green beams lanced down from the sky. Everywhere they touched, people and buildings dissolved into nothing. The screams of the dying filled the air, then cut off abruptly as the victims ceased to exist. Sarah collapsed to her knees, staring at the gray puddle that had once been her daughter's home. They're not trying to conquer us. They're trying to erase us. Kim pulled out a portable scanner. The beam breaks down molecular bonds. It's like they're unmaking everything it touches. Another colonist ran past them, his clothes smoking. The shelter, he gasped. They hit the shelter. Sarah looked toward the mountain where hundreds of families had taken refuge. A green beam was carving through the solid rock like it was butter. More gray liquid poured down the mountainside. They followed our evacuation protocols, Marcus realized. They studied us before they attacked. They know exactly where we would run. More alien ships descended from orbit. These were smaller, but their weapons were different. Instead of green beams, they sprayed clouds of what looked like glittering dust. A group of farmers caught in the dust cloud began screaming. Their skin blistered and bubbled. Then they started changing. Their bodies stretched and twisted into impossible shapes before finally dissolving completely. Biological weapons, Kim whispered. They're testing different ways to kill us. Sarah felt numb with shock and grief. This wasn't war. This was extermination. The aliens weren't trying to defeat humanity. They were trying to wipe them out completely. A small group of colonial defense fighters launched from the secondary airfield. Their simple atmospheric fighters looked pitiful compared to the massive alien ships. But they tried anyway. The human weapons had no effect on the alien vessels. Missiles and energy beams simply bounced off their organic hulls. But when the aliens fired back, the human fighters didn't just explode. They vanished entirely. Marcus was coordinating the defense on his communicator. All units fall back to the canyon. We'll make our stand there. Stand with what? Sarah asked bitterly. They're killing us with weapons we don't even understand. Because we have to try. Because we're human. And humans don't give up. What remained of the colony's population, maybe a few thousand people out of millions, gathered in the narrow canyon where the children had been playing that morning. It felt like years ago instead of hours. Marcus organized the survivors into defensive positions. They had mining equipment, construction tools, and a handful of military weapons. Against ships that could dissolve matter itself, it was nothing. Sarah found a working communicator and tried one last time to reach the aliens. Please, if you can understand us, we surrender. We're not a threat to you. Please stop the killing. The only response was more green beams lancing down into the canyon. A teenage girl ran up to Sarah. It was Emma, one of Zara's friends. Mrs. Chen Okafor. Have you seen Zara? I can't find her anywhere. Sarah's heart broke all over again. She pulled Emma close. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry, Emma began to cry. Around them, more families were realizing they would never see their loved ones again. Dr. Santos worked frantically at her portable laboratory. I'm recording everything. Every weapon signature, every energy reading. If anyone escapes, Earth needs to know what happened here. Is anyone going to escape? Sarah asked. Kim looked around at the few thousand survivors trapped in the canyon. More alien ships were positioning themselves overhead. I don't think so. But we have to try. Marcus climbed onto a large rock where everyone could see him. Listen to me. We're going to get as many people as possible to the spaceport. There are still a few ships there that might be functional. The aliens will just shoot them down, someone called out. Maybe. But we have to try. Some of us need to survive to warn Earth. The evacuation began immediately. Parents carrying children, the injured being helped by the healthy, everyone moving as fast as they could toward the small spaceport on the other side of the valley. The aliens let them run. Sarah realized they were being herded, driven toward a specific location. The aliens wanted to finish them all at once. At the spaceport, they found 3 small courier ships still intact. Each could carry maybe 50 people. Out of the thousands still alive, only a few hundred could escape. Marcus made the hard decision. Families with children first, then essential personnel with critical information. Sarah found herself being pushed toward one of the ships. "I'm not leaving without knowing what happened to Zara." "Sarah," Marcus said gently, "you know what happened to Zara. And you're the colonial administrator. Earth needs your testimony about what happened here." The loading proceeded quickly. Sarah ended up on the ship with Dr. Santos and about 40 other survivors, mostly children and their parents. As their ship lifted off, Sarah looked down at New Eden one last time. The beautiful valley where children had played that morning was now scarred with gray stains where the alien weapons had struck. The Crystal River ran gray with dissolved buildings and people. The other two ships exploded before they reached orbit. Sarah's ship took damage but kept flying. Behind them, the aliens finished their work. From space, Sarah watched the aliens deploy their final weapon. Clouds of what looked like spores spread across the planet's surface. Wherever they settled, nothing would ever grow again. New Eden wasn't just dead, it was sterile. Nothing would ever live there again. Commander Elena Vasquez, the courier ship's pilot, set course for Earth. "It'll take us 3 months to get home. Everyone should rest and recover," but Sarah couldn't rest. She spent the long journey documenting everything. Every detail of the attack, every weapon the aliens used, every tactical mistake the colony had made. Most importantly, she analyzed the aliens themselves. They weren't conquerors. They were exterminators. They had come to New Eden for one purpose: to erase every trace of human life. The question was why. And the more terrifying question was, would they stop with one colony, or was this just the beginning? Commander Elena Vasquez's damaged ship limped into Earth's solar system after 3 months of hard travel. The courier vessel's emergency beacon had been broadcasting continuously, but nothing could prepare Earth for what the survivors had witnessed. Admiral Catherine Morrison stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching the recorded footage from New Eden for the 3rd time. Each viewing made her angrier. Children dissolving into gray sludge, families screaming as alien weapons unmade their very existence, an entire world sterilized and left dead. "How many survivors?" she asked quietly. 47, replied Captain Torres, her aide, "out of 2.3 million colonists." Admiral Morrison closed her eyes. She had served in space for 30 years, had seen pirates and raiders, had fought in the asteroid wars. But this was different. This was genocide. Sarah Chen Okafor entered the briefing room, still thin and pale from the journey. She carried a data case containing everything they had learned about the aliens. "Mrs. Chen Okafor," Admiral Morrison said. "I'm sorry for your loss," Sarah nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. But we don't have time for condolences. These aliens, they're not going to stop with New Eden. They're exterminators. They wipe out organic life wherever they find it." Sarah activated the holographic display. Images of the coral-like alien ships appeared in the air between them. "We call them Zaphirians after their home system. Dr. Santos analyzed their technology during the attack. Their ships are alive, grown rather than built. Their weapons don't just destroy, they unmake things at the molecular level." "What do they want?" Admiral Morrison asked. "To cleanse the galaxy of what they see as contamination, organic life." Sarah's voice was steady, but her hands shook. "They study each species before they attack, learning the most efficient ways to cause suffering and death. They took their time with us, Admiral. They enjoyed it." Admiral Morrison studied the tactical data. The aliens had overwhelming technological superiority. Their weapons were beyond anything humanity possessed. Their ships seemed immune to conventional weapons. "Recommendations?" she asked. Sarah looked directly at her. "We need to hit them with everything we have. Not to defeat them. I don't think that's possible with our current technology. But to make them understand that humanity is not a soft target." Within hours of Sarah's briefing, emergency sessions began across Earth. The United Nations, the Colonial Administration, the Military Command Council. Everyone who mattered was called to emergency meetings. The footage from New Eden spread across Earth's networks. Humanity watched in horror as their cousins on a distant world were systematically exterminated. But horror quickly turned to something else: rage. President Hassan of the African Union spoke for many when she addressed the world. "We have seen what these aliens do to our people. They have declared war on the human species. They have made the gravest mistake possible. They have shown us mercy is not an option. The Sol Defense Compact, humanity's military alliance, had been created to protect against pirates and raiders. Now it transformed into something much more dangerous: General Park of the Pacific Federation took command of all human military forces under emergency powers. Admiral Morrison was promoted to Supreme Commander of Fleet Operations. Her first order was the activation of Project Lazarus. Project Lazarus was designed as a last resort, she explained to the assembled military leaders. Total mobilization of human resources for species survival. Every colony, every habitat, every ship, everything we have goes toward one goal, making sure this never happens again. The project began immediately. Earth's industrial capacity, already impressive, tripled within weeks. Asteroid mining operations expanded exponentially. Every human colony contributed resources and volunteers. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's leading physicist, was given unlimited resources to develop new weapons. The aliens use crystalline-based biology, she explained to her research team. Their molecular structure is completely different from organic life. That's our advantage. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A music student named David Chen, no relation to Sarah, who was studying harmonic frequencies. His research into crystal resonance patterns provided the key. If we can generate the right quantum frequencies, Dr. Tanaka explained, we can disrupt their crystalline matrix. Their own biology becomes their weakness. The quantum resonance weapon was born from this research. It wouldn't just destroy the alien ships, it would cause them to tear themselves apart from the inside. Admiral Morrison stood in the massive shipyard built in Earth's asteroid belt. Around her, hundreds of ships were under construction. Not the small patrol boats and frigates humanity had built before, but massive warships designed for one purpose, carrying the fight to the aliens. The flagship would be called Retribution. It was so large that 3 asteroids had been mined completely, just to provide enough metal for its construction. How long until the fleet is ready? She asked Chief Engineer Santos, Dr. Kim Santos's brother, who had volunteered immediately after seeing the New Eden footage. 18 months for full completion, he replied. But we'll have fighting ships ready in 18 months. Admiral Morrison hoped they had that long. Reports were coming in from other human colonies. Strange gravitational readings at the edges of their systems, long-range sensors detecting massive objects approaching. The Zaphirians weren't done with humanity, but humanity wasn't the same species that had lost New Eden. The Stellar Engineering Corps was Admiral Morrison's most ambitious project. Led by Dr. Kenji Nakamura, a theoretical physicist who had lost his entire family on New Eden, they were developing humanity's ultimate deterrent. If they want to exterminate us, Dr. Nakamura said grimly, we'll show them what extinction looks like. His project was so classified that only a dozen people knew what they were really building. Admiral Morrison was one of them, and sometimes she wondered if they had become monsters in their quest for survival. The training programs were unlike anything in human history. Every volunteer, and there were millions of them, went through psychological conditioning designed to prepare them for what they might have to do. We're not just fighting for victory, the instructors told each class. We're fighting for the survival of every human being who will ever be born. There are no rules in a fight for survival. Sarah Chen Okafor became the face of humanity's awakening. Her speeches, broadcast across the colonies, united the species like nothing ever had before. They came to our peaceful world and murdered our children, she said in one famous address. They thought we were soft because we chose to be farmers and builders instead of warriors. They were wrong. We are still the species that climbed out of Earth's gravity well with nothing but determination and fire. The message resonated across human space. Colonies that had been founded by pacifists volunteered their entire populations for military service. Scientists who had spent their careers studying art and literature turned their minds to weapons research. Admiral Morrison received regular updates from human intelligence operations. Other species in the galaxy knew about the Zaphirians. Most had simply learned to hide and hope they wouldn't be found. The Ethereal Collective has been running from them for 300 years, reported Intelligence Director Hayes. The Silicon Confederacy lost 12 worlds before they developed effective hiding techniques. Everyone knows about the Zaphirians, but no one has ever fought back effectively. That's about to change, Admiral Morrison replied. The Harbinger fleet was ready ahead of schedule, 200 massive warships, each one carrying enough firepower to sterilize a planet. But more importantly, Each ship carried the new quantum weapons designed specifically to kill crystalline life forms. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking out at her fleet. Behind them, Earth glowed blue and peaceful in the darkness. Ahead lay the long journey to Zaphirian space. "Admiral," said Captain Torres, "all ships report ready for departure." Admiral Morrison thought about New Eden, about Sarah's daughter Zara dissolved into gray sludge, about 2.3 million people who had died screaming while aliens studied their suffering. "Signal the fleet," she said. "We are departing for the Zaphirian home system. Our mission is simple. We are going to show them what happens when you murder human children." The Harbinger fleet departed Sol system with the blessing of every human alive. As they accelerated toward their distant target, messages of support followed them from every colony. But the most important message came from Sarah Chen Okafor herself. Bring them justice. For Zara, for all of them. Admiral Morrison stood alone in her quarters as Earth disappeared behind them. She knew they might not be coming back. But she also knew something the Zaphirians had missed about humanity. They were not just farmers and builders. They were also the species that had survived ice ages and plagues, that had fought wars across continents, that had never once accepted extinction as an option. The Zaphirians were about to learn why that mattered. The Harbinger fleet had been traveling for 8 months when they encountered their first alien species. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the strange ships approach. They looked like soap bubbles made of metal, floating gracefully through space. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Park, "we're receiving a transmission. They're using basic mathematical sequences. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Unknown vessels, this is the Ethereal collective ship, Peaceful Current. We see you are heading toward the territory of the Devourers." "This is not wise," Admiral Morrison stepped forward. "This is Admiral Catherine Morrison of the Human Harbinger fleet. We appreciate your concern, but we have business with the beings you call Devourers." A pause. Then the wind chime voice returned, sounding surprised. "You seek the Devourers deliberately? This is unprecedented. No species seeks them willingly. We call them Zaphirians. And yes, we're seeking them deliberately." Another pause, longer this time. "We would like to speak with you directly, Admiral Morrison. May we send a diplomatic pod?" An hour later, Admiral Morrison found herself in the ship's conference room, facing the strangest being she had ever seen. The Ethereal looked like a tall, thin column of silver mist held together by force fields. When it spoke, its entire body chimed like music. "I am Harmony of Stars at Dawn," the being said. "I speak for this fleet of the Ethereal Collective. We have encountered the Devourers many times over the centuries. What can you tell us about them?" "They are ancient. They believe organic life is a disease that contaminates the galaxy. They have destroyed hundreds of worlds, eliminated dozens of species completely." The Ethereal's voice grew sad. "We have lost many colonies to their cleansing operations." Admiral Morrison leaned forward. "How do you fight them?" "We do not fight them. We hide, we run. Fighting the Devourers is impossible. They are too strong, too advanced. They destroyed one of our colonies, killed 2.3 million people, including children." The Ethereal's form flickered with what might have been emotion. "I am sorry for your loss, but Admiral, you must understand. No one fights the Devourers and survives. The wise choice is to hide your remaining colonies and hope they are not found." Admiral Morrison smiled grimly. "We're not very good at hiding. We're better at fighting." The Ethereal studied the human fleet through the conference room's viewports. "Your ships are impressive, but the Devourers have weapons that unmake matter itself. Your metal hulls mean nothing to them. We've developed new weapons specifically designed to counter their biology." "Impossible. Many species have tried. All have failed." Admiral Morrison activated the holographic display. Images appeared showing the quantum resonance weapons mounted on every ship in the fleet. "We analyzed their crystalline structure. Our weapons generate frequencies that cause their molecular bonds to destabilize." The Ethereal was quiet for a long moment. "You have studied them, learned their weaknesses. This has never been attempted. Because no one else was angry enough to try. Anger is not sufficient against the Devourers, Admiral." "No. But it's a start." The meeting continued for hours. Harmony of Stars shared everything the Ethereal Collective knew about Zaphirian tactics, technology, and territory. In return, Admiral Morrison shared tactical data about the New Eden attack. They are systematic, Harmony of Stars explained. They study each species before attacking, learning how to cause maximum suffering. They believe fear and pain purify the galaxy of organic contamination. They made a mistake studying us, Admiral Morrison said. They learned how to hurt us, but they didn't learn what happens when you hurt us. As the Harbinger fleet prepared to continue their journey, other alien ships appeared. The Silicon Confederacy sent crystalline vessels that looked like living jewels. The Methane clans arrived in ships that resembled frozen comets. Captain Shard of Ancient Light from the Silicon Confederacy was brutally direct. Humans are fools. The Devourers will destroy your fleet and then hunt down your remaining colonies. You are not just condemning yourselves. You are condemning your entire species. Maybe, Admiral Morrison replied. But we're going to try anyway. Why? Why not hide? Why not survive? Admiral Morrison showed him the footage from New Eden. The crystalline being watched in silence as children dissolved into gray sludge, as families were torn apart by alien weapons designed to maximize suffering. This is what they do to us, she said. This is what they did to our children. Would your species hide after watching this? Captain Shard of Ancient Light's crystal form glowed brighter. No, we would not hide. We would seek vengeance, even knowing it meant death. Then you understand. The Methane clan representative, a being called Cold Wind Through Ice, offered something unexpected. Our ships cannot fight in the warm regions where Devourers live. But we know their home system. We have watched them for centuries mapping their territory. You'll help us? We will give you the location of their primary world. What you do with this information is your choice. The intelligence was invaluable. The Zaphirian home system contained 7 inhabited worlds orbiting a blue supergiant star. Over 40 billion Zaphirians lived there, protected by the largest military force in the known galaxy. Admiral Morrison studied the tactical data with her staff. Chief Weapons Officer Commander Singh looked worried. Admiral, they have millions of ships. Even with our new weapons, we'll be outnumbered thousands to 1. Good thing we're not planning a fair fight, Admiral Morrison replied. As they traveled deeper into Zaphirian space, the Harbinger fleet began encountering enemy patrols. The first engagement came at the edge of the Kepler 539 system, where a Zaphirian scouting force of 50 ships intercepted them. Admiral Morrison watched from the bridge as her weapons officers targeted the alien vessels. Fire. The quantum resonance weapons struck the coral-like enemy ships with invisible energy. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien vessels began to shake violently. Their organic hulls developed cracks that spread like spiderwebs. Finally, they tore themselves apart from the inside. Their own crystalline structure turned against them. In 30 seconds, 50 Zaphirian ships were reduced to floating debris. Weapons are effective, Admiral, reported Commander Singh with satisfaction. Good. Signal the fleet. We continue to the next system. Word of the engagement spread quickly. The Zaphirians, for the first time in their history, had encountered a species that could hurt them. Their response was swift and overwhelming. At the Vega 7 system, the Harbinger fleet faced a Zaphirian battle group of 500 ships. The enemy attacked with the arrogance of a species that had never known defeat. They learned quickly. Admiral Morrison's ships moved in perfect formation, their quantum weapons tearing through enemy ranks like fire through paper. The Zaphirians' molecular dissolution beams, so effective against other species, proved nearly useless against human ships designed specifically to resist them. Enemy formation is breaking up, reported Tactical Officer Martinez. They're retreating. Let them go, Admiral Morrison ordered. We want some of them to reach home. We want them to carry a message. The message was simple. Humanity was coming, and they were angry. The fleet continued its advance, destroying every Zaphirian outpost and patrol they encountered. Admiral Morrison was methodical, systematic, learning from each engagement. She studied Zaphirian tactics, adapted human strategies, always preparing for the final confrontation. At the Rigel B system, they encountered something unexpected, a group of Zaphirian ships fleeing from human space. Long-range sensors showed these ships were damaged, their crews apparently in panic. They've been hitting our colonies, Intelligence Officer Chen reported after analyzing the ship's data signatures. These are the same vessels that attacked the Proxima settlement last month. Admiral Morrison's expression hardened. Another human colony destroyed while she was hunting the main enemy force. More families dissolved into gray sludge while she was out here playing soldier. Destroy them all, she ordered quietly. Admiral, they're trying to surrender, Communications Officer Park reported. They're broadcasting distress signals. Admiral Morrison thought about the children on New Eden, about Zara Chen Okafor, dissolved while trying to help younger kids reach safety. About 2.3 million people who had never been given the chance to surrender. I don't care. Destroy them. The quantum weapons reached out across space and tore the fleeing ships apart. There were no survivors. From the Retribution's observation deck, Admiral Morrison watched the debris field expand into the void. Captain Torres joined her there. The crew is starting to wonder about our mission objectives, he said carefully. What do you mean? Some of them think we're supposed to be defending humanity. Instead, we're hunting aliens across the galaxy. Admiral Morrison turned to face him. Captain, do you know what the Zaphirians call themselves in their own language? No, Admiral. The Purifiers. They think they're cleaning disease from the galaxy. Every organic species they've exterminated was just another stain to be removed. She looked back at the debris field. I'm going to show them what a real purification looks like. 2 weeks later, long-range sensors detected their destination, the Crystallis system, home to the Zaphirian species. 7 worlds orbiting a massive blue star, each one teeming with billions of the crystalline. The Harbinger fleet arrived at the edge of the Crystallis system and stopped. Admiral Morrison did not order an immediate attack. Instead, she did something that shocked every species, monitoring the confrontation across the galaxy. She opened a communication channel to every world in the system. This is Admiral Catherine Morrison of the Human Harbinger Fleet. Her voice broadcast on all frequencies. We are here because your species attacked and destroyed the human colony of New Eden. You murdered 2.3 million innocent people, including children. On the bridge of the Retribution, Communications Officer Park monitored the alien responses. Admiral, we're receiving thousands of signals from the Zaphirian worlds. Most of them seem confused. Admiral Morrison nodded. The Zaphirians had never encountered resistance before. No species had ever come to their home system seeking vengeance. She continued her broadcast. Your weapons dissolved our people while they were still alive. Your ships took time to study how much pain you could cause before death. You made our children suffer because you enjoyed it. The response came from the largest Zaphirian world, transmitted by what was clearly their leadership caste. The voice was like crystal chimes, but cold and emotionless. Organic contamination has come to our sacred system. You will be cleansed as all organic disease is cleansed. Your suffering will purify the galaxy. Admiral Morrison smiled grimly. You still don't understand. But you will. She activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is the Admiral. You have 72 hours to evacuate this system. That's the same amount of time you gave our children on New Eden. The alien response was immediate. Millions of coral-like ships began emerging from the 7 worlds, forming the largest military fleet in galactic history. They moved with absolute confidence, certain that their overwhelming numbers would crush the small human force. Admiral, reported Tactical Officer Martinez, enemy fleet strength estimated at 3.2 million vessels. They're moving to surround us. Let them come, Admiral Morrison replied. Signal Dr. Nakamura. Begin positioning the engineering ships. While the main fleet prepared for battle, 5 specialized vessels detached from the Harbinger formation and began moving toward unusual positions around the system's star. To the Zaphirians focused on the human warships, these engineering vessels seemed insignificant. That was their final mistake. The battle began at 0800 ship time. The Zaphirian fleet attacked in waves, expecting to overwhelm the humans through sheer numbers. But the quantum resonance weapons were devastatingly effective against their crystalline biology. Admiral Morrison watched from the Retribution's bridge as her ships tore through enemy formations. Target their command vessels first, she ordered. Cut off their coordination. The space battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships moved in tight formations, their weapons creating expanding fields of destruction wherever they struck. Zaphirian vessels, designed to fight species with conventional weapons, found their organic armor useless against quantum resonance technology, but there were so many of them. Admiral, we're taking heavy casualties, reported Captain Torres. The vengeance and justice are both gone. The Fury is badly damaged. Admiral Morrison nodded. She had expected heavy losses. The Zaphirians might be unprepared for human weapons, but they had numbers and experience on their side. Continue the attack pattern. Keep them focused on us. Admiral, Communications Officer Park called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the Zaphirian leadership. They're offering to discuss terms." For the first time in their species' history, the Zaphirians were considering negotiation. They had lost thousands of ships to an enemy they had expected to crush easily. "Put them through," Admiral Morrison ordered. The cold crystal voice filled the bridge. "Organic beings, your resistance is unexpected. Perhaps accommodation can be reached. Withdraw from our system, and we will consider sparing your remaining colonies." Admiral Morrison thought about Sarah Chen Okafor, alone in her quarters with the knowledge that her daughter had been dissolved into gray sludge for the aliens' amusement. "No," she said simply. "You had your chance for mercy when you attacked defenseless farmers. You chose to study how to maximize their suffering instead." She cut the communication and opened a channel to Dr. Nakamura. "Doctor, status report. Final positioning achieved, Admiral. All quantum field generators are in place around the target star. We're ready to begin the sequence." Admiral Morrison looked out at the battle raging around them. Human ships were outnumbered, but they were holding their own. More importantly, they had accomplished their real mission, keeping the Zaphirian fleet distracted while the engineering ships completed their work. "Begin. Stellar collapse initiation," she ordered Dr. Kenji. Nakamura sat in the control room of the engineering ship Prometheus, surrounded by equipment that represented the pinnacle of human scientific achievement. He had lost his wife and 2 children on New Eden, dissolved into gray sludge while trying to reach an evacuation shelter. His hands moved across the control panels with steady precision. Quantum field generators online. Initiating gravitational cascade. Around Crystallis Prime's blue supergiant star, 5 engineering ships activated the most terrible weapon humanity had ever conceived. Quantum manipulation devices began forcing the star through its natural death cycle, compressing millions of years of stellar evolution into hours. The star began to change. Its blue light shifted toward white, then toward something beyond the visible spectrum. Deep inside its core, nuclear processes that should have taken millennia were compressed into minutes. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Morrison opened one final communication to the Zaphirian worlds. "Your species came to our peaceful colony and murdered our children while studying how to cause maximum suffering. You thought we were weak because we chose to build farms instead of weapons. You were wrong about us. The star was visibly changing now. Its surface rippled with unnatural energies as the quantum manipulators forced it toward supernova. We gave you 72 hours to evacuate. Some of your ships are trying to flee. We will not stop them. Those who survive will carry word to the galaxy about what happens when you murder human children." The Zaphirian fleet had noticed the changes in their star. Panic spread through their formations as they realized what the humans had done. Ships that had been attacking the Harbinger fleet suddenly turned and fled toward the outer system. Admiral Morrison watched them go. She felt no satisfaction, no joy in victory, only a cold certainty that this had been necessary. "Admiral," Dr. Nakamura's voice came through the communicator. "Stellar collapse has reached the point of no return. We have approximately 18 minutes before the supernova wavefront reaches the innermost planet. Signal the fleet. All ships jump to minimum safe distance." The Harbinger fleet, what remained of it, retreated to the edge of the system. Behind them, the blue supergiant that had warmed 7 worlds for millions of years entered its final death throes. Admiral Morrison stood alone on the observation deck, watching through heavily filtered screens as Crystallis Prime died. The star collapsed inward, its massive bulk compressed into a point smaller than a city. Then it exploded outward with the force of 1 billion hydrogen bombs. The supernova erased everything within 20 light-years of the star. 7 worlds, 40 billion Zaphirians, millions of years of civilization, all gone in a flash of light that would be visible from hundreds of star systems. Captain Torres found her there an hour later, still staring at the expanding shell of plasma that had once been an entire star system. "Admiral, we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Every major species is requesting information about what happened here." Admiral Morrison turned away from the window. "Tell them the truth. Tell them that humanity came to the Crystallis system because the Zaphirians murdered our children. Tell them we gave them 72 hours to evacuate the same time they gave our people. Tell them that some Zaphirian ships escaped and are free to spread the word about what they witnessed. And what message should those ships carry, Admiral? Admiral Morrison thought about New Eden, about children playing by a crystal river on a purple morning that seemed like a lifetime ago. About 2.3 million people who had died screaming while aliens studied their suffering. That humanity is not to be trifled with, she said quietly. That we remember our dead, and that we will cross the galaxy to avenge them if necessary. The journey back to human space took months. Along the way, they encountered other species who approached them with a mixture of awe and terror. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as explorers or traders, but as a species capable of erasing star systems when sufficiently provoked. Some species offered alliance. Others began defensive preparations, terrified of what humans might do if they were ever threatened again. When the Harbinger fleet finally reached Earth, Admiral Morrison found Sarah Chen Okafor waiting for her at Luna Station. The former colonial administrator had aged years in the time since New Eden's destruction, but her eyes were still fierce with determination. "Did you find justice for D?"